Hello, guys. This is Stella, your effective learning manager. How are you today? And today I am going to do an explanation on how you can best write your 24-hour exam essay. When I was looking through the guide, I realized that at the end of that particular guide that was given to you, there was an attached rubric. I know that most of us will probably not look into the rubric, but I think with this particular webinar, I would very much like to analyze that rubric so that I can help you obtain a very good grade during the exam. That's the purpose of this 24-hour exam essay webinar. Okay, let's start with this particular rubric. So I only obtained the rubric that will give you an indication on how you can obtain an A in your 24-hour exam essay. But as you can see, this is small. I am going to go to the next slide so that we can make it bigger. So now you can see it is bigger and some of the words are underlined for ease of explanation. So you can see that in order for you to answer questions that talk about knowledge, understanding, and application, and I will walk you through this, it shows that your essay has to have a comprehensive, highly structured, focused, and concise response to the assessment task, consistently demonstrating, okay, that's the word that is underlined in blue. First, an extensive and detailed knowledge of the subject matter. Second, a highly developed ability to apply this knowledge to the task set. Third would be evidence of extensive background reading. Hopefully you have already read through your notes and also other readings from articles and journals. Clear, fluent, stimulating, and original expression. And lastly, of course, excellent presentation, spelling, grammar, graphical, all that with minimal or no presentation errors. Yeah, it looks very Greek to you. So I am going to translate that one from English to English. I am just going to do a very simple translation for you. Yeah, first of all, what you really need is knowledge, both from your lectures and from your tutorials. So you will really need to read your notes from there. Secondly would be because maybe your lecturers have advised you what parts of your lectures will be taken up in the exams. You can do background readings at the same time. So you can go trawl through the internet and look at readings that might be important during the exam period. What is very relevant is that you should read before your 24-hour exam. You shouldn't be doing the reading during the 24-hour exam because then you will probably lose out in terms of time, and you may have and it might lead you to lack of focus during that exam time. Second is your writing style. So this is your very own writing style. And I know that I cannot help so much in this particular thing, but I would say that in order for you to have a better way of doing the essay, the writing has to be in a formal style and it should follow academic writing. Academic writing has always been a workshop that I have presented every semester to you guys. Every semester there is always something on writing assignments, writing your final year project, and these are all academic writing. And thirdly would be grammar and structure. Grammar and structure, I will need to emphasize this because if you do have a better grasp on grammar and structure, you will have a better grade. So on the right side of that rubric, you can see that It's more on analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. So this particular kind of assignment will give you a higher grade. So I will just go and read it to you fast. It's a deep and systematic engagement with the assignment task, with consistently impressive, take note, demonstration of a comprehensive mastery of the subject matter. Reflecting, okay, the word is reflecting instead of demonstrating. First, a deep and broad knowledge and critical insight, as well as extensive reading. Second, a critical and comprehensive appreciation of the relevant literature or theoretical, technical, or professional framework. Third, an exceptional ability to organize, analyze, and present arguments fluently and lucidly with a high level of critical analysis, amply supported by evidence, citation, or quotation. And last, a highly developed capacity for original, creative, and logical thinking. Okay, so what does that mean? So I would actually look at it in terms of just reading the third dot point, which says an exceptional ability to organize, analyze, and present arguments, because this is the crux of the matter. And going into the next slide, I will give you my thought about this. So you should have an exceptional ability to organize, analyze, and present the argument. So there is an argument. It's not descriptive. It's basically an argument. And the argument is clear due to a high level of critical analysis. And of course, the argument has to be supported by referenced evidence. So you might ask, how do I do critical analysis then? So there's an answer to that one, and I will show you this particular slide. It says here, writing frameworks are important, and I always believe in writing frameworks. You see, I'm also not a first language speaker of English, but when I went through and wanted to go about writing, I've always looked into writing frameworks. Some writing frameworks I have developed by myself through the many years of writing, but mostly I get it from certain sources. So this is a very good source. And look at this one. So the heading says that use the following questions to help you think and then write in the appropriate style, or move your writing from one style to another. So the styles that this framework is showing is that there's actually a descriptive writing style, an analytical writing, a critical or evaluative writing. And if you go and put them all together, it actually goes into reflective writing. So what if the question is descriptive? So then what you can do is answer very, very easily the what, the where, the who, and the when, and the how. But what if it's an analytical writing? So then it transforms into you doing descriptive. That means you go through the gamut of doing the what, where, who, when, but most specifically the how, the why, and the what if. So analytical writing consists of the questions how, the questions why, and the questions what if. So I'll give you a very good example. I'm just skipping descriptive writing because everyone knows how to do descriptive writing. So let me make this bigger a bit. So how did this occur? How does it work in theory or in practice? Yeah, those are questions that you can answer. Let's move on to why. Why did this occur? Why was that done? Why this argument or this theory or suggestion or solution? Why not something else? And to complete analytical writing, what if? What if this were wrong? So what if the one that is being written is wrong? What are the alternatives to it? And what if there was a problem? And what if another factor were added or removed? So that is basically analytical writing. But you see, if you go through the ones that I presented under rubric, you see that what they are looking into is a critical analysis. So that means you move on to evaluative. So if you look at evaluative, it consists of what if, so that's part of analytical writing, so what, and what next. Yeah. What if would be, as I've explained earlier, what if this were wrong? Yeah, one of the questions there. And look at the question and so what. What does this mean? Why is this significant? Why is this particular thing important? In other words, is this convincing? Why or why not? So these are the so what questions. And what next is something on, is it transferable? How and where else can it be applied? What can be learned for applying in the future? And so on and so forth. The one that I would like to emphasize to you before leaving these slides is this one. Reflective writing, which is something that a lot of the essays will fall into, will consist of descriptive writing, analytical writing, and critical and evaluative writing. So this is a very good framework to go and look into. So the PDF will be later on will be uploaded on the SharePoint so that you can have a look, a peek at this one while you're answering the 24-hour exam question. Moving on. So I'm going to give you an example. So if you notice, this is an example from that same literature that I was able to obtain that particular table. So the example is about a pottery, and you have this particular pottery and you want to describe it. So the question would basically be, what is this? So it's a small bowl with a handle. Yeah. Where was it? At the site of a Roman villa? Okay. When did it happen? So it's approximately maybe 380. And who used it? It's a big house, maybe a wealthy family. A wealthy family can approve this, can afford this particular pottery. Now you want to move on to analysis. So what's the question would be, what is the purpose of this pottery? Maybe it contains a liquid, maybe it contains other things. How would it work? Because the bowl shape holds liquid and prevents spillage. So these are questions that you can ask yourself and you can actually answer them. Yeah. Why this size and shape? Well, easy to drink from. Yep. And why the handle? So that it can be held and carried. So these are things that you can answer by yourself. Now, when you move on to analysis, yeah, how is it made? Yeah, so that's the question. Rings are evidence it was made on a wheel. Yeah, of course, before pottery was made using a wheel. How was it decorated? So it's burnished with wavy lines typical of the Roman period. So it's typical of that particular time. Why is it here? Maybe it was the kitchen or the dining area of the house of a rich person. Why was it intact? It was preserved because the soil was soft. So you're thinking about analysis, you want to make it something on evaluation. So you can see that the question would be, what next? We need to compare the design and decoration with similar objects to verify its age. Yeah, of course, that's very important. And what is the so what? It's very rare to find an intact pot, highly significant and a valuable find. Okay, so you have all this written in short phrases and short clauses, and you want to write it. And I will leave you to reading this particular text. It's here in the PDF, so you can go through it and you can see the difference between you answering the questions and writing it in an essay form. So I'll leave this up to you. I will be giving a PDF later on. Moving on, I still have this particular other templates that I want you to see. So this is a template for analytical assignment. So sometimes some of the slides would be more or less something that you can practically find in the other frameworks, but I am just going to emphasize that these are helpful tools for you. What is very important is that when you think that your question is about analysis, then you can look at this particular template. So it is explained like this. So how does it go through? So first, you should explain a concept related to the subject. You explain how the concept gets used. You apply the concept to a real situation, and you explain how you see things differently. The most important part would be explaining how you see things differently after going through this particular writing. So explain how you understand the concept more fully, yeah, and describe the questions or uncertainties you still have. So this is quite important, describing the questions or uncertainties that you may have, because it is good to talk about things that you don't really understand. And it will show that you are very sincere and that you recognize that knowledge is important for us to apply. Next one would be an explanatory template. And as you can see, as I would say before, as I have said before, that if you know that if that question is regarding explain, so this is the one that you can use. I'm not going to like spend a lot of time here. I will just go and read the topics, like describe a real situation or event related to the subject, draw from a vital source, that is your main literature, describe the tension. So that means what is happening here. Yeah, what is the such situation and why is this tension happening? Explain how you now see the situation or event. So these are the things that you can write about when your 24-hour exam question is about explanation. So the last one, the last template that I'm going to show you is about what if you're asked to examine a term or a concept. So then first thing that you need to do is explain a term or concept. That means that you need to go back to the template on explanation. Yeah. Deny a usual association. So that means that if you always think of this concept with this particular event or thing, then you should look at it in another, or what is the opposite? Yeah. This is how you see complexity, and this will make your writing very interesting. Unpack the terms or concept. That means you try to describe the qualities that might have been taken for granted or the effects that are not apparent at the moment. And the last one would be explain how you see things differently now. Yeah, how did you understand the term or concept? Or you can also describe your questions or uncertainties that you still have at this particular moment. So I'm showing you a basic 5-paragraph essay organizer, and this is the one that we used to do in secondary. I would not recommend this, but I'm still showing you how this looks like. Yeah, it will not give you a very high grade, but if in case you find the other frameworks very difficult to follow, then you can always follow this, but I wouldn't recommend this for you. Last one. What sort of essay do I have to write? So these are keywords and meanings that you need to look into. So when you're having that particular exam, you have to look into What is the keyword about? Analyze or argue or comment or compare or contrast, or is it about critically analyze? So I've always think that a lot of questions would be about critically analyze, and it is here. I'm going to make it bigger so we can see it. So as you can see, it talks about breaking down the topic into its component parts. So you break it down, explain the nature or relative importance of the component. So now you have broken it down. Now you need to describe each of the subcomponent. Define concepts or definitions or concepts and explain how they are interrelated. So now that you've broken them into pieces, now you have to talk about how are they interrelated. And lastly would be to discuss the strength and weakness of the definitions and concepts. So that's the one that you should probably study, critically analyze. As you see, there's also criticize, there's also define. Define is a very low kind of it will, the points will be very low, the same as describe. Diagram is here, which means you need to draw a graph or any other graphic form, and always to label the diagrams. The other one which I've always noticed is discuss. So you need to look into the meaning here. I'll make it bigger again. To consider a topic from various points of view. So to reveal, consider, and represent aspects of an issue in general terms, often showing which is most reasonable. Sorry. So the last one will be enumerate. Enumerate is something that the lecturers probably will not give you, because this is a 24-hour exam and you have your notes with you, and enumerate will be so simple for this particular exam. So that's about it. I'm going to leave you with this particular slide because you will may need help from me. So if you notice, I have this context. So you have my email here. If you need to write to me, I also even have a number here, and you can WhatsApp me and I will reply to you. And if lastly you need to check on something, then I have a schedule here for a Tuesday and a Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. by Ultra Collaborate. You just have to click this one and it will, then you will go into that session. So you can ask me anything with regards to, of course, study skills. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to answer any of the questions with regards to your assignment. So this is the one that I need to give you a caveat with. We, the effective learning advisors, have decided that we will not be entertaining questions on assignments during the exam time. So that means that you can still go and ask me about study skills. How do I write an essay, for example? How can I manage my time? All that, but very specific ones like, can you edit for me? Or can you see if the flow is there? Would not be entertained, because then it would be something that is not fair for other students. Yeah. So just remember that. And I hope that you were able to get something from here. And I would like to read. This is the webinar on the 24-hour exam essay. And I talked to you about analyzing the rubrics so that you can obtain a higher grade. It is always better, I would say, it's always better to strategize. And the best strategy in order for you to obtain a higher grade in your exam would be to look at the rubric and see, I want to get an A. What does it take to get an A? So that was the explanation I was giving you. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you again in the next webinar. Bye bye.